Megan Hicks and her husband, Jack, run an amazing third Saturday of the month salon at their house, the sweetest house in Rose Valley outside of Philadelphia. And there they introduce a storyteller, and Megan always has a chance to close with her own stories. They are amazing people, and they have amazing spread for you. Please come out the third Saturday of the month in Rose Valley, not far from Philadelphia. See me later if you need directions. She is a genius at origami, that is, taking pieces of paper and folding them with great style. She has the skill of folding pieces of paper. She has a skill of folding motifs, ideas, memes, genres into wonderful storytelling events. She has many CDs and resources. She has done workshops all over the world, including at the FBI Academy. Notice me not saying anything about that. But she is an incredibly skilled storyteller and a wonderful hostess with the mostest. The reason she is dear to my heart is because in one of her newsletters about her third Saturday, she said, I will probably tell a story in preparation because I've been invited to the Storytelling Festival. The Storytelling Festival. There are many storytelling festivals, but there's only one The Storytelling Festival, and there's only one The Megan Hicks.
Gosh, nobody's ever accused me of being literati. And if you're interested, if you live near Philadelphia, come get me. I'll get you on the mailing list, and you'll know when the concerts are. Sometimes they are the third Saturday, and sometimes they're not. But I'll keep you informed. Today, I'd like to share a couple of my favorite tales from folklore. One starts out as an Aesop fable and ends as an Italian fairy tale. And the other is a wonder tale from the British Isles. The first one, where are the kids in the audience? Where are they? Anybody under 14? Thank you. They're all right. Good. You can put your hands down. It's just good to know where you are. I do a lot of school work, and sometimes I tell Aesop's fables at school, and I don't ever end the fable with, and the moral of the story is, I ask the kids, what's the moral of the story for you? Well, what might it be for you? For you? Because the moral of Aesop's stories changes for me with every hearing, with every exposure. And I think it's not something like a butterfly that you can nail down. So here's one of my very favorite Aesop fables. It's called The Man and the Snake. One day there's a man walking along in a meadow while minding his own business. Sunny day, beautiful day, his mind is in the clouds, and he hears, "Hey, buddy, look down, look down." He looks all around, he doesn't see anybody talking to him. "No, down, at your feet." He looks down, and there at his feet, he sees a venomous snake that is trapped under a big flat rock. And the snake says, buddy, I've been trapped here all day. I'm dying. The sun's getting hotter and hotter. I'm going to be dead before the end of the day. Be a pal, would you? Lift the rock up, let me out, okay? The guy says, no. I know what kind of snake you are. You're one of those treacherous, venomous little snakes. One drop of your poison and I'd be dead. No. Oh, man, give me some credit, would ya? Do you think I would do something so shabby to the guy that saved my life? Let me out, please. I'm gonna die. You promise me? You won't bite? I promise. So the man bent over. He lifted up the stone, he laid it to the side, and immediately the snake coiled itself around one of his legs and bared his fangs, ready to bite him. The man said, wait a minute, you promised you wouldn't hurt me. The snake looked up at him, grinned. He said, yeah? Well, I lied. Hey, don't be pathetic. Don't look so shocked. You yourself told me you knew who I was and what I was before you even picked that rock up. You should have known better. That's where our friend Aesop leaves that story. Well, I'm not going to leave school children there in that place. I found an extension of this story in a book of Italian folk tales, and here's how they finished the story in Italy. Well, the guy begged and pleaded for his life, and the snake finally rolled his eyes, and he says, oh, all right. We'll make it a game, okay? So let's say the next 3 creatures to come through the meadow, we will ask them what they think of you, and if one of them agrees with you that you're a nice guy and you deserve to live, I'll let you go. Well, the man was instantly relieved, because who should be coming through the meadow at that moment but Dog, man's best friend. And man said, hey, pup, come here. Aw, good boy. Listen, buddy, listen, I need you to help me here. This snake, I did a good turn for him. I saved his life. I lifted a rock he was trapped under and saved his life, and look what he's getting ready to do to me. Unless you tell him that I'm a good guy and I deserve to live. Would you do that for me, huh? And the dog went, you've got to be kidding. He said, man, do you actually buy that old tale that we are best friends? Oh, I don't think so. I mean, consider the facts, okay? I have to chase your sheep, your stupid sheep, up and down the mountain all day long. And when it's time to come home, if one of those sheep has gotten itself in trouble, I don't get to come home until I find it and bring it home safely. And then, you may remember to feed me, you may not remember to feed me, but I notice that when we're eating, you're the one with the lamb chop and I'm the one with the bone. Not only that, but I don't even get to rest soundly at night because I am expected to guard your house. Oh man, it does my heart good to see you in that position. And he said, Snake, let him have it. Whoa, the man was kind of shook up. But hope welled up in his heart once more because here came Horse. And he thought, I work with Horse every day. Horse and I were tight. I've known Horse since day one. He says, Horse, come here. I need you, buddy. I need your help. And he explained to the horse what had gone on and what the snake was about to do to him. He said, Snake's going to kill me unless you tell him I'm a good guy and I deserve to live. And the horse just shook his head and said, oh, that is rich. That is so rich. He said, man, think about it. Think about it. I spend my life doing your heavy labor. I pull your plow. I run your millstone. I have babies and you take them away from me before they're even weaned and you break my heart. And then when you've used up all my physical strength on your hard labor, do you turn me out into the field for a dignified old age and death? No. You send me off to the butcher, have them turn me into dog food and glue. Oh man, it does my heart good to see this predicament you're in. He looked at the snake and he said, Snake, let him have it. Oh man was really shaken now, and his heart sank when he saw the third creature, his last hope, coming into the meadow, because the third creature was Fox. I'm done for, he thought. I'm finished, because if there is anyone more treacherous, more deceitful than this snake, it's that fox. But he's my last hope. So he called the fox over and he said, hey, buddy, listen, Snake was in a pickle this morning. He was in a real predicament. He was trapped under a rock, and I came along and picked up the rock And now look what he's getting ready to do after I saved his life. And can you just tell him you think I'm a decent guy and I deserve to live? And Fox said, what? He said, I don't get it. He said, that's a big rock, but you're a really big man, and I don't know how you could get trapped under that rock and need to be rescued. And the snake said, no, I was under the rock. Oh, no. You and man under that rock at the same time? Oh, that is wrong on so many levels. The snake said, no, you idiot. I was under the rock. Man came along. I asked him to help me. Wait. I don't get it. I don't get it, said the fox. Look. Why don't you just show me what happened, okay? Don't use your words. Just show me what happened, and then I'll know what you're talking about. Snake said, oh, you are the stupidest creature I have ever encountered. Okay, man, lift up the stone. We will reenact it, okay? So the man lifted up the stone. Snake coiled himself where he had been before. Man wedged the stone firmly in place. And then the fox kind of shook himself off. He preened his little whiskers, and he looked at the man, and he said, sir, if I were you, I would skedaddle out of here right now, because if that snake gets out again, he will not show you mercy. The man did not have to be told twice. He was out of there. And under the rock, the snake was fuming. He said, you liar, you dissembler, you betrayed. What's the matter? Said the fox. What's the matter? You knew when I came into the meadow who you were dealing with. You knew I was a fox when you started talking to me. You knew I was a fox when you trusted me. Buddy, you should have known better. Here is one of my favorite wonder tales. It woke me out of jet lag during the 5 storytelling conference in Fremantle, Australia, in Western Australia. I was zonked. And then a teller whose name I don't even know got up to tell this story, and all of a sudden I was awake and riveted. Taffy Thomas recorded it on his CD, Take These Chains from My Heart. It's called Davy and the Devil. Now, a lot of fairy tales start out once upon a time, right? This one doesn't start or end traditionally. This one starts. Davy hated fish. Everything about fish disgusted him, the way they looked, the way they smelled, the way they tasted, the way their mouths would gape open when you took them out of the water, those big blank eyes that just looked up at you, the way they were kind of slippery and kind of strong and wiggly at the same time. Everything about them disgusted him. Davy hated fish. And this was a real problem because Davy worked on a fishing boat. It was a small village. There weren't that many jobs for young men. And it was Davy's job to sit all day, every day, in all weather, on the deck of the fishing boat as it floated in the ocean on the waves. As his captain was always safe and dry up in the cabin, Davy was on the deck. And when those big nets came up and dropped the fish that they had caught at his feet, there they lay squirming and wiggling, and it was his job to pick them up one by one, to slit their bellies, to scoop their guts out, throw the guts over the edge, bait to catch more fish, chop their heads off, throw their bodies in a barrel, and at the end of the day, the captain would take the barrel to the fish market and sell it. All day, every day, that's all he did. Scoop up the fish, slit the belly, scoop the guts, chop the head, toss the body. Davy hated fish. And one day it was cold, it was drizzly, he was miserable out there on the deck doing his job, and he thought, is this what my life amounts to? Am I going to grow old doing a job any fool could do? A job that I absolutely hate? Is this my life? And in that moment, Davy looked down on the deck and he noticed a fish. For the first time in his life, he noticed a fish. For the first time in his life, he saw how even though the sky was cloudy, that little bit of light that came through burst into a rainbow across the fish's body. In that moment, he saw how the scales of that fish looked as though they had been put together by a master jeweler. In that moment, he saw the fish looking up at him with that big eye. He would swear that eye was looking into him and imploring him. Davy picked that fish up and started to slit its belly. And that's when he felt the fish's heart beat against his thumb. And Davy knew this was one fish he would not be able to kill. So he put it to the side, and he waited until he was pretty sure the captain up there in the cabin didn't see him. He scooped that fish up. He dropped it over the rail, and it disappeared in a flash of silver. Well, Davy had been mistaken about the captain. The captain had seen what he did. And he came storming down to the deck. He said, "Davy, I saw what you did. Now listen to me, boy. I know your heart is not in this job. You hate it. You tell me with your attitude every day you come to work. I saw what you did just now, and that is the same as stealing, Davy. So listen, take heart knowing this. When we dock tonight, when we dock and you step off this boat, you will never set foot on my boat again. You are fired." Davy thought, fine. And then he thought, oh no, I'm unemployed. What will I do for money? What will I tell my wife? How will we buy food? How will we pay rent? But I don't ever have to do this miserable job again. And there Davy sat for the rest of the day, hovering between relief and worry, being half sad and half mad and half glad and all confused. And in his confusion, Davy forgot himself. And he did the one thing that you must never do if you are on a boat in the open sea. If you're on a boat in the open sea, don't ever start whistling. You whistle a tune on a boat in the open sea, what you're doing, you're whistling up the wind of a killer storm, or you are whistling up the devil from hell. Well, the boat docked later that day. Davy walked off of it, and he left all of his relief behind. And all he was left with in his head was worry, anxiety, fear. My wife's going to kill me. We'll be turned out into the street. We'll starve. He was so full of his own troubles, he didn't notice that someone was walking on the road with him. He didn't notice until a little man pulled up beside him, a little man leading a cow on the end of a rope. A little man dressed in muddy work boots, in baggy wool trousers, in an ill-fitting jacket, obviously a farmer. His hands were dirty. Now, if Davy hadn't been so full of his own problems, he might have had the wit to notice the little horns popping out of the hair of this little man, but he looked at the little man and he took him for a farmer, a simple farmer. And the man said, "Davy, boy, you look like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders." Davy said, "Well, I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. I've lost my job. There are no more jobs in this village. My wife is going to kill me. I can't pay the rent. I can't buy food. We're going to be turned out into the street. We're going to starve to death. I'm ruined." The little man said, Davy, you know what? If you had this cow, your troubles would be over. Ah, Davy, this cow, you know, she gives the richest milk in all the world. Oh, and she gives it abundantly. With the milk and the butter and the cream from this cow, Davy, Your fortune could be made. If you had this cow, you wouldn't have a care in the world. Davy said, well, thank you very much. But as you might notice, I don't have that cow. You have that cow. I have nothing. Now, Davy, it doesn't have to be that way. I've got a proposition for you. What say? I let you take the cow. You keep it for 3 years. You do what you will with the milk and the butter and the cream. Then I come back after 3 years. I pose you 3 questions. If I get the answers to my questions, you keep the cow. You live a long and prosperous life. You never see me again. Ah, but Davy, if I don't get the answers to my questions, well, I'm going to sling you over my shoulder and take you down to the fiery deep. So what do you say, Davy? Do we have a deal? You know, Davy was a young man. He wasn't more than 21, 22 years old. And when you're that young, you think 3 years is forever. When you're that young, you're pretty naive. And you think that people who look like simple farmers are what they look like. And you're arrogant, too. And you think, how hard can this guy's questions be if he remembers to even come back and ask them? So there on the road that day, Davy stuck out his hand, he shook hands, and he struck a deal with the devil. Now, Davy led that cow on up to his cottage up at the top of the hill. His wife came out to meet him and said, Davy, what are you doing with the cow? You bring fish home. Sometimes you bring your friends home. They smell as bad as the fish. You've never brought a cow home. What's with the cow? He said, oh, well, darling, I've decided to change career paths. Yeah, that's it. I'm going into a new line of business. You know what? Darling, this cow gives the richest milk in all the world. And I was thinking, with the milk and the butter and the cream from this cow, well, your pastries are already famous in the neighborhood. People rave about your baking, and I was thinking that you could bake your famous pastries, and I could open a tea shop, and we could run this little tea shop we've been dreaming about ever since we met. What do you think? She said, Davy, this is amazing. Look here in the afternoon rental notices. There, right there on a corner in the village, on the main corner. There's a little shop for rent, and look how cheap it is. We can do this, Davy. It's almost like it's been ordained. And so, they opened a shop. Now that cow did give the richest milk in the world. She gave it abundantly. And Davy's wife made the best pastries in the world. And people started coming from miles around to this tiny little village just to visit the tea shop that Davy and his wife ran. Well, in no time at all, they were operating a successful business. In no time at all, Davy realized he was happy. In no time at all, 3 years passed. Davy had almost forgotten about the deal he had struck with the devil that day. But on the last day of the 3rd year, it was mid-afternoon, he looked up from the counter. It was a time of day when usually the shop was bustling with activity and there were no customers. He thought, well, there's just that old man over there in the corner reading his paper, finishing his tea. As soon as he finishes his tea, I'll close up shop and go home early. Davy went back and got the broom and started sweeping the crumbs out the door. But as soon as he got to the front door of his shop, all of a sudden, the room was cast in darkness. Davy looked up, and there, blocking the doorway, stood the devil. And he looked every inch a devil. He was tall, he was powerfully built, he was bare from the waist up. He had rubbed oil into his skin until he glowed red, and that cruel barb of a tail was striking sparks on the pavement behind him. Davy staggered backward, and the devil laughed. Yes, Davy, I see by the expression on your face. It's all come back to you now, hasn't it? the deal we struck on the road 3 years ago. Tomorrow. Davy, I have to say, in 3 years you have done wonders with that cow. Wonders! I am amazed. And now, for my end of the bargain, I pose 3 questions. If I get the answers to my questions, you keep the cow, you live a long and happy life, you never deal with me again. But if you don't answer my questions, Davy, over my shoulder and down to the flames of hell with you. Are you ready to begin? Now, before Davy had a chance to respond, the old man over in the corner raised his head and he said, yes, he's ready to begin. And that, sir, was your first question. Oh, this interruption was totally unexpected. Threw the devil totally off his stride. He looked at that old man and he looked at Davy. He looked at that old man and he looked at Davy. He said, Davy, will you tell that old coot to butt out of our business and leave us alone? And before Davy responded, he winked at the old man. He looked up at the devil. He said, no, I won't. And that was your second question. The old man, he clapped his hand on the table. He said, well played, Davy. Well played. I knew you were a bright lad. Oh, now this infuriated the devil. The devil stomped over there and he loomed over the man. He said, just who the hell do you think you are anyway? And that man stood up and up and up and up until he was eyeball to eyeball with the devil. He took his hat off and silver hair cascaded all the way down to the ground. And he said, I am the king of the fishes. 3 years ago, this young man showed me mercy. He gave me my life. I've returned today to repay the favor. And incidentally, sir, that was your third question. So back to the flames of hell with you. Now leave this boy alone.